Dev, who's with us right now. He is a defense expert. Sir, thank you for joining us here on the show this morning. So we're playing out for our audiences visuals that are quite graphic in the sense that you can tell that it seems as if the explosion is visible in the distance. Sir, how are you interpreting these visuals? What cues do you think they could possibly give agencies?
Yeah, I think there are two or three things to note in this incident. Firstly, it's happened after a long time, and
2 years.
I'm not saying there's a sense of complacency which ever sets in, but there are times in which the militants and the insurgent groups modify their tactics to, carry out such attacks, and to get nearly that quantum of explosive and to be able to, shape is something which they must have planned and seen happening for the last couple of months or few months at least, that once an operation is called off by the security forces, what is the kind of process they follow to de-induct back into their camps. So I think there has to be something more innovative done as well by the security forces to ensure it does not happen in the future. Having said that, I think there's always a lot of civil sense, amongst us citizens to see these attacks as one standoff. I don't think so. That is the way to look at it because, this is a continuum. It is just that when you are too much, aggressive with your intent as the state and you want to curb such activities which are anti the state or the nation, you bring in a certain process which is looking much more robust. And at that time, is the time when these insurgent groups or sponsored groups, as you may call them, which are anti-national, they may build up some different kind of modus operandi. They may go into a sort of a balk period and not react for some time, but they're always active. So whether they are sourcing their funds, whether they're sourcing their weapons, they're sourcing explosives, whether they are training, they're always active. So I think the continuum to be aggressive against such forces, anti-national forces, has to be a little more robust, and I'm quite sure. I'm not saying that it's not being done, but what I'm saying is that, you can't lose precious lives in such attacks. And not that, personally being from the military services, I cannot say that there's a fault anyway, but I must say that there has to be a higher degree of caution and alertness and SOPs refined, because today technology permits you. Technology permits you to, even on the routes you are going today, even if you are paramilitary force or a special force acting there, you can use technologies which are more enabled, more aerial in nature to do surveillance, monitoring, so that once you are coming back on a route or going on a route, it is still much more safer. So I think, you need to do that now. And you can't have these, PMA forces acting as third tier of some defense in our country for the internal security. Without having the niche technologies now at their disposal. So I think the time has come. They must reevaluate their entire tactics of surveillance and sort of, cornering an area or carrying out operations and then de-induction. And this should be the norm going ahead. So I think lessons will be learned from this, but not to lose heart, because this happens, when the state is trying to quell this kind of an anti-national activity, and things will happen. So I can't say much on this.
Colonel Dev, if I could just ask you to stay with us. I want to take to our second guest, ADG KK Mishra, who's with us right now. He's also a security expert. I want to take to him part of what you've said. Sir, part of what Colonel Dev said right now, perhaps the largest message he gave, was that SOPs need to be revised. In this story in particular, it has emerged in the hours since the attack took place that a fortnight ago, intelligence agencies had flagged a threat letter by Naxals in Chhattisgarh. Sir, do you think more should have been done in the interim when Colonel Dev says that SOPs need to be revised? Do you agree?
Yes, the SOP needs repair.
All right. We'll try to re-establish that connection with Sir in just a second. I'll bring you more details about the letter that we're talking about in particular. Late last month, Maoists in Chhattisgarh actually issued a letter threatening to attack security forces as retaliation for anti-Naxal operations. Now, until we're able to establish our connection with Sir, we're going to go back to Colonel Rohit Dev, who is the defense expert who remains with us. Colonel Dev, I hope you're able to hear me. I want to come over to you with a question here. Sir, some experts say, to the question of why these attacks continue in Chhattisgarh in particular, some experts say that while it's well known that in... All right, we've actually lost Colonel Dev, but I do believe KK Mishra remains with us. Sir, are you able to hear me?
Yes,
All
I
right.
can hear you.
Sir, do you want to continue answering the question I was asking you earlier about SOPs?
Yes.
Sir, do go ahead.
Yes, I can tell you that it is the right time to change the SOP. The SOP was made quite earlier when situation was different. In the meantime, the logistical change has happened quite a lot in police, particularly in Chhattisgarh police and various other police departments also. And the modernization of weapons, they have been done. Similarly, the technique adopted by Naxalites have changed. Operational strategy has changed from both sides. And in fact, the modernization of weapons, modernization of your and collection of intelligence and the MAC, and dissemination of information, everything has changed on the ground. Even the ground is changing. The terrain is changing. And development is going on. Social development is going on, and society is also changing. Society knows that, okay, the Naxalites are not the tribals. What they are, they also think. Pressure tactics also is changing. So when everything is changing, we can't sit down with the old SOP and stick to it.
But sir, tell us, how do you think SOPs need to change, in what ways?
I can well tell you the situation for every operation, the situation will change. The demand of force, demand of weapons, demand of logistics, demand of weapons, demand of technicality, demand of drones, demand of troops, logistic availability of troops. These all will change now, and the requirement needs to know, and I see it will, on operational basis it has to be. What the intelligence is there. So you have to, and for every type of intelligence, every type of operation, like what will be there in Pakistan border will not be the same for Bangladesh border. What is there for Bangladesh border cannot be there for Naxalites area. And Naxalites area will not match with Northeast. So SOP cannot be the same.
But sir, if we were to just focus on this situation, what took place yesterday, there's clearly been an intelligence failure with such a large amount of explosives that were laid. How do you look at the situation? Where do you see the faults? Give us more context.
I can well tell that if such an amount of explosives, more than 50 kgs was planted, and they returned in the same route. It is, and even the firing was also there after the blast was there. They fired also certain rounds while escaping. So that means the planning was there. The information got leaked out. So I can well tell you that it is a failure, no doubt. It's a failure of operation. And the worst part of it, there was no commander with the troops. And the strength in that area, going inside with a 10 strength, it is impossible. I don't know how it was planned, and the same route was adopted, and the worst part of it, the leader was not there. You see, when Havildar cannot lead any operation, anti-Naxal operation, it is never heard of. And this should not have been done. I'm sorry to tell.
All right. Sir, thank you for joining us. Thank you for bringing us that context.